If you've got type 1 diabetes and weight training scares your blood sugar more than it scares your fitness, then incline walking might be the best tool that you are not using. And here's exactly why it works for us. I'm Eoin, I'm a type 1 diabetic myself, and this is a tool that I still use, not one that I just grew out of. So if a hypo during a training scared you off, that makes sense, but that is a normal response. And what actually fixes it isn't avoiding training, it's understanding what's happening in your body when you train. So here's why incline walking works so well for us. It's steady, it's low intensity, and it sits in roughly 60 to 70% of your max heart rate zone. That's the zone where your body burns fat at best. It also doesn't trigger the same hormonal response that heavy lifting or intervals do. So think of heavy lifting like flooring the gas pedal. It floods your system with adrenaline, that spikes your blood sugar during the set, then it crashes hard afterwards, sometimes hours later when you're not even paying attention. And that delayed crash is usually the scary hypo that makes people quit training altogether. So a steady incline walk is more like cruise control. It's smooth, it's predictable, it mostly avoids the swing completely, and lower hypo risk, more steady energy, which leads to more confidence. There's also research on walking right after a meal. It blunts the blood sugar spike that follows eating. So for us, that's a double win. So fat loss support and flatter blood sugar from the same 15 to 20-minute walk. And the same logic applies to sprint intervals or anything HIIT based. The harder and more explosive the effort, the bigger the hormonal spike and the bigger the swing afterwards. So this doesn't mean HIIT is off the table. It just means that more planning is needed around it to make it work, which is exactly why the walking is the easier place to start. And one of my clients hadn't trained properly in years. A bad hypo during a session had him put off completely. And we started with nothing but incline walking. And by the end of 12 weeks, we'd gone from this to this, dropping over 10 kilos. So by the end, he was back lifting because he'd actually rebuilt trust in his body. So if your training does feel unpredictable for you right now, there's a link below that you can book in a one-to-one call with me to map out the exact steps that are needed to do the exact same. So incline around 12 to 15%, a pace where you can talk, but it does take some effort. If you go for 20 to 30 minutes and after a meal, if you can, for the extra blood sugar benefit. You don't need a gym. A hill outside actually does the exact same job. So here's a simple check. You should be able to hold a conversation, but singing would feel hard. And if you're tracking your heart rate, that's roughly 60 to 70% of your max. So 220 minus your age gives you a rough number to work from. And don't jump straight to the full protocol. So weeks 1 to 2, 8 to 10% incline, 15 minutes, 4 times a week is perfect. Just build a habit and watch how your blood sugar responds. Then weeks 3 and 4, you can push to 12%, 20 minutes. And then weeks 5 onwards, you're at the full version. And that's a 4-week runway, not something you just white knuckle from day one. So you've got options for where you can do this. A treadmill is the easiest control, but an outdoor hill will work the same as well. And stadium steps can also work too. Once the version that you're using feels easy to start with, that's the main thing. An important point here is this isn't instead of strength training, it's to be done alongside it. A simple split that works well for a lot of my clients is 3 or 4 incline walks a week and then 2 to 3 strength sessions a week. So walking handles the post-meal blood sugar benefit on training days, and it also builds your aerobic base on rest days. It's not a replacement for real training, and it's not a way to think that you can avoid it forever, but it is generally a useful tool, and it's a smart place to actually start if training currently feels unpredictable. So you can build up your confidence here first, and then keep building from there. Because of type 1 diabetes, you're someone who can make it predictable with the right structure. And if training still feels like a guessing game for you, that's exactly what I build with clients. We structure it around your blood sugar, not against it. And again, the link is in the bio if you want to book in a one-to-one call with myself.